Disclaimer, this channel's host has a speech impairment. She may be a little hard to understand at first, but if you stick around, you'll get used to it. And you might learn a thing or two while you're at it. Also, this channel is going to have a lot of true crime content. Viewer discretion is advised. Now on with the show.
I live in a Minnesota group home. So when I read that at least 50 residents of Minnesota group homes have died under troubling circumstances and that many providers face little consequences, I didn't just read it as news. I read it as something that could have been my life. Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm glad you're here. Today I'm going to be talking about a relatively new case. Actually, it's a cluster of cases. It's a relatively new story because it was recently reported in the Minnesota Public Radio. The story was that 50 deaths in Minnesota group homes over the past few years, and what they found was troubling. I know it's not a specific case, but I felt it fell right into the aim of the channel to bring voice to true crime stories involving people with disabilities. So I wanted to cover it. But before we jump into the story, if you like this content, you know what to do. Now let's jump into the story. Chapter 1, living here and reading this. Like I said, I live in a group home in Minnesota. I talk about my life in a group home and how I came to be in a group home in the video on the screen up here. So if you're interested in that, please click on the link. But I'm warning you, the video editing is terrible. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a great video editor now, but back when I did this video, I was pretty bad. So you might want to check it out so you can laugh at my editing skills. Just kidding, don't do that. My experience in the group home has been pretty good overall. I have a staff that listens, routines that work, and most importantly, the ability to advocate for myself when something doesn't feel right. But not everyone has that. When I read the recent investigation by NPR News and APM reports, I couldn't separate the reporting from my own life. The findings weren't abstract. They described a system I am actively a part of. And for many people in that system, the outcome has been fatal. Chapter 2, 50 deaths and one pattern. The investigation found at least 50 group home residents in Minnesota have died since late 2022 under circumstances serious enough to trigger state maltreatment investigations. That number alone is hard to sit with. But what makes it even heavier is the pattern behind it. These were not always unavoidable deaths. Many involve allegations of neglect, failures to supervise, respond, or provide adequate care. In some cases, residents wandered away unnoticed. In others, medical needs weren't properly addressed. One case highlighted in the reporting was that of Ryan Riggs, a man with a traumatic brain injury who disappeared from his group home and was later found dead outside after being missing for nearly 29 hours. Investigators concluded that his needs had been neglected and he should have never been left unsupervised. This wasn't described as an isolated tragedy. It was described as part of a pattern. Chapter 3. Few consequences, familiar fear. What stuck with me the most wasn't just the death. It's what happened afterwards. According to the investigation, meat providers face minimum penalties, often fines of $5,000 or less, and were allowed to keep operating. In one case, the initial fine was just $1,000. Imagine $1,000 for the death of a loved one. If you don't live in this system, that might sound like a regulatory issue. But if you do live in it, it feels different. It raises a question I can't ignore. What does accountability look like when the people affected may not be able to speak for themselves? I can speak up. I can ask questions. I can question decisions made. I can call someone if something feels wrong. But what about the residents who are nonverbal? Or who have cognitive disabilities? Or who have been taught implicitly or explicitly not to question authority? Anyone that knows me knows I do question authority, but not everyone has been taught that that's okay, especially people with disabilities. For them, accountability often depends on systems working exactly as they should. The reporting suggests that these systems don't always work as they should. Chapter 4. A System Under Strain. Group homes are supposed to provide a balance, support without institutionalization, independence with safety. They are largely taxpayer-funded and serve thousands of Minnesotans with disabilities. But the system has been growing quickly and not always carefully. The investigation and reporting point to an industry expanding faster than oversight can keep up. Staffing shortages, inconsistent training, and uneven enforcement all contribute to gaps of care. And I've personally seen all three throughout my 7 years in the group home. State agencies receive thousands of maltreatment reports each year, with neglect being the most common allegation. When I think about that, I don't just think about the statistics. I think about the small moments that make up daily life here. Someone needing help out of bed. Someone waiting for medication. Someone relying on staff to notice when something goes wrong. Those moments don't show up in the headlines, but they are where safety either exists or fails. Chapter 5. The Difference Advocacy Makes. I know my experience is not universal. I've been told I'm, quote, high functioning, unquote, a phrase I have complicated feelings about. But what it really means in this context is that I can advocate for myself and others. If something isn't right, I say something. If I don't feel safe, I push back. If I need something, I ask, and I keep asking. That's what my parents taught me to do. That ability creates a layer of protection that not everyone has. The investigation cited in the report made that painfully clear. Many of the people who died were described as vulnerable. People who depended heavily on staff for supervision and care. And when that care failed, there wasn't always someone able to step in, speak out, or demand change, like there is for me and my housemates. It forces me to confront something uncomfortable. My safety is not just about the quality of care I receive. It's also about my ability to challenge it. Chapter 6, what this means going forward. It would be easy to read this reporting and walk away with one conclusion. Group homes are unsafe. And many people do that. I can't tell you how many times people have told me they would never send their child to a group home because they are unsafe. But that's not the full picture. Group homes make independent living possible for thousands of people, including me. They can be supportive, stable, even empowering environments. The problem isn't that they exist. The problem is that the system meant to protect residents isn't consistently doing so. When deaths linked to neglect results in small fines and little structural change, it sends a message, whether intended or not, about whose lives are prioritized. For us living in these homes, the stakes aren't theoretical. They are daily, they are personal, and they are unequal. Because until every resident, regardless of disability, communication style, or ability to self-advocate, has the same level of safety, the system isn't working the way it should. I feel safe where I live. I feel supported. I often say moving to this group home was the best decision I made in my life. But after reading this reporting, I also understand something more clearly than before. Safety in this system is not guaranteed, and too many people have been lost. Well, thank you for listening to this video this far. If you made it this far, I absolutely love you. I hope this video makes you think, and I hope it doesn't give you a one-dimensional view of a group home. Two things can be true at once. I could live in a very safe and loving environment, but also the overall system is in desperate need of change. I hope you found this video interesting and informative. If you like this content, you know what to do. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.